May I begin by thanking Mr Barry Maguire for his welcome to country today and acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. I extend my deep respect to elders both past, present and wish much hope for the future elders in our community. I'd also like to acknowledge the Honourable Roger Cook, Deputy Premier, Minister for Health and Mental Health, the Honourable Peter Tinley, Minister for Housing, Veterans Issues and Youth, Chief Justice Wayne Martin, Mr John Byrne, Acting Equal Opportunity Commissioner, and Mr Mark Glasson, who I worked with for a number of years, who is Chair of Shelter WA. Unfortunately, Graham could not be here today. I know that he would want to be here. This is something that is very important to him, and he would have really appreciated the opportunity. So he's asked that I present on his behalf. It is a pleasure to be a part of today's forum to discuss one of the fundamental needs of people, the need for not only shelter, but a place to call home. Our unwavering focus must be on ensuring that access to housing is fair and just, and that people who receive our support services thrive and have real life choices that meet their needs. I thank Shelter WA for today's forum and the spotlight on homelessness that the forum creates. I would like to talk briefly today about the opportunity that we have as a result of the machinery of government changes in the form of the new Department of Communities. For anyone who's counting, this is week 6. Now that the government has brought together child protection and family support, housing, disability services, veterans, community support and shortly youth justice, we have an opportunity to bring about true and lasting change through the way we deliver services, including the provision of housing. It is a chance we cannot pass by. We must grab it with both hands. As one department, we have a current budget of over $3 billion and more than 6,000 staff across the state, making us the 3rd largest state government department. With these resources at our disposal, we now have the responsibility of providing services to a diverse range of Western Australians who need a place to call home, but who otherwise do not have the means to readily access one. Frequently, the people we will work with will be accessing more than one of our services. Our quest is to effectively plan and deliver services to our customers so that they are accessible, complementary, and integrated. We are already wrestling within the department about how to bring both our hearts and our minds to the table to deliver the desired outcomes for the community. Having myself worked in regional areas and experienced the complexities of delivering services on a statewide basis, I am acutely aware, as many of you will be, of the challenges of providing housing and the associated services which are appropriate in the regional areas and remote communities. What works in the metropolitan area does not just magically apply elsewhere. We need to take into consideration the economic, social and cultural issues that impact on a person's ability to live a fulfilling life. Housing needs to respond to the ever-changing community. The nuclear family is becoming less common, with complex living arrangements required for blended and extended families, which may also include elderly members. Conversely, when relationships fail, this can drive people from their homes. The increasing options for people with disabilities to reside independently demands a different response, requiring genuine consultation. Cultural factors are another critical, important consideration. Whilst largely a taboo subject, racism can raise its ugly head when people are seeking housing, and it hits even more harshly when rental markets are highly competitive. In relation to public housing, disruptive behaviour of the few makes it harder for those who are prepared to comply and paints the public housing tenant as a community problem. For many years I worked within corrective services, and the difficulty for authorities in releasing prisoners too often related to the lack of suitable accommodation options for them. This could result in delaying a person's release for no other reason but a lack of a suitable accommodation. For those people who were released at the end of their term with no stable shelter or support, their return to the system was inevitable. This comes not only at a high personal cost, but an additional cost to the community through further offending, more victims, coupled with the high cost of further incarceration. The greatest challenge in relation to addressing homelessness is the coordination of localised support, services and resources. Housing is just not about physical location where someone resides. It is about their ability to function in that residence and a person's ability to be engaged in their surrounding community. Whilst the department will be focused on ensuring vulnerable members of our community have access to basic human needs, it is also critical that we provide individualised support. For many, the offer of a house is not adequate nor effective response. In fact, further supports are not provided. The provision of a house may result in unintended consequences, such as putting them into deeper debt and increased vulnerability. The opportunity before us is to better integrate these services and shift from a program-centred approach to person-family-centred approach. In other words, for us to combine humanity with bricks and mortar. To achieve this, we need to think about how we're going to deliver our services. This includes co-locating regional staff, increasing information sharing across services, and establishing district leadership groups, something that has worked well in the Kimberley. We need to ensure that there is effective local leadership and decision-making, so that decisions are made within a local context rather than a generalised one-size-fits-all. The Department of Communities must rise to this challenge if it is to be true to the vision that brought about its creation. Our relationship with the Department of Health, Mental Health Commission, Justice, Education, WA Police, to name a few, will be critical if we are to be a whole-of-government approach to addressing these fundamental issues that lead to homelessness. We must complement this work by working closely not just across government and at a state and Commonwealth level, but with community service organisations statewide. The Department of Communities provides us with the ability to customise pathways for individuals, families and community wellbeing. The Home for Carers program was established in September 2016 as a joint venture between Child Protection and Family Support, the Housing Authority and Foundation Housing. The program identifies family carers who are living in public housing and matches them to private rental properties that can better accommodate the family size and the additional children in their care. Further, since the amalgamation, Child Protection and Family Support have been working with the housing team so that planning for residential care homes can be included in future budgeting for housing stock. We are also exploring how coordinated intervention services can be provided to reduce the number of evictions over time, thereby further reducing homelessness. We can build on these programs far more effectively now that we are within one organisation. Whilst the Department of Communities is now the lead agency for the coordination of services to mitigate homelessness in Western Australia, we cannot do this alone. The community sector provides critical homelessness accommodation and support programs for the most vulnerable people in Western Australia, including young people, women and children escaping family and domestic violence, single adults and families. It is important to acknowledge and thank the community agencies and your staff to make such a valuable contribution to our community. Over the years, your services have become more sophisticated, acknowledging not merely that providing accommodation is the answer. It is the services that are provided around the person that makes a difference. At today's forum, let us also celebrate the positive development of these services and continue to learn from each other. It is early days of the department, but it is exciting. As a representative of the Department of Communities, may I say on behalf of my colleagues, some of whom are here today, that we look forward to sharing this journey with you. Thank you.